Hello physical fiends, it's Jordan here with another worth of purchase where I play a game for a short amount of time to see if I would buy it with my own money. Today I'm taking a look at Emio, the Smiling Man. This review copy was provided by Nintendo to me, but aside from the obligation to say that, these views are my own. Once upon a time, this channel was called VN Paradise. It was a channel dedicated to visual novels before I morphed it into Physical Paradise. I enjoy visual novels. I rarely get the time to read them though. But when one of the best looking adventure visual novels comes along with a physical copy, it's hard to say I'm too busy. So I made the time for this, and unlike most of this video series, I did complete the game. But this video is fully spoiler free, at least as much as it can be. You'd have to literally close your eyes to avoid everything, because I have to show you something on screen, so yeah, I'm doing what I can, okay? Let's stop the rambling and get on with it. The Famicom Detective Club series is certainly more of an adventure game than your average straight visual novel, which I think is the perfect choice. Certainly more approachable to those who are reluctant to just press the A button over and over again to read the story. It's a harder sell. So if you played something like the Ace Attorney games, this is definitely more of a visual novel, but not so far removed. If you enjoy Phoenix Wright, you will enjoy this, I am sure. Yeah, it's far more on the serious side, but it's not afraid to have some smaller, light-hearted moments. But personally, if I read a visual novel, I prefer to have a nice mystery, focusing on the plot more than the characters, with little to no romance, and that's why Emio has really struck a chord with me. The story is fascinating from the start, with a murder mystery of a serial killer from 18 years ago, perhaps returning. Some of it is based on fact, some is maybe a myth. I'm really only going to go that far with it, but it genuinely had my entire attention the whole way through. And that's all I can ask for in a VN. It doesn't get bogged down much, and the pacing is really good. And I really appreciate that despite some simplicity, it does try to make you feel like a detective. It often asks you if you're keeping up, or if you manage to make your own deductions. It occasionally asks you what the connections are or what the discrepancies are without pushing them on you beforehand. So it does hope that in the year 2024 you are mildly trying to pay attention and work logical things out by yourself. Believe that. The characters are nice. Perhaps the main duo are a little bland, but I like the fact that they do have their own voice and kind of a personality, even though you can name your main character. My boy Garbo Gamer, I kind of wish he was a little more interesting and unique, but again, it's more about the story. Thankfully, the supporting characters are much nicer and far more interesting. The gameplay is old school adventure game style. While it may be quite archaic for us in the West, for many in Japan, i.e. the audience it was specifically made for, it will be very nostalgic. It's almost an obligation to stick to the old school methods, while making it look spectacular. And I have a feeling the gameplay will be a bit too illogical for some people. When you're not in the active dialogue, on the left hand side of the screen you'll have all your actions. Look at things, talk with people, pick something up, bugger off somewhere else. I mean, we've all played adventure games before, but there's pretty much one action you need to do at one time, in order, so you can advance the plot. And it often seems like there's no rhyme or reason to the order. For example, you'll talk about one plot point, like maybe the victim, but then you need to choose the think command in order to unlock another dialogue option, or further the victim dialogue to make the conversation go further. It's very specific, and you don't get much of a hint as to which one is the next. Which I don't mind, but it leads to you just randomly clicking on all of the options until you get to the right one, which makes it feel like there's less need for you to actually do anything or think for yourself. It's not inspired gameplay, and it feels random. You're clicking an option and hoping for the best. Some will not like this and will feel their time is being wasted, but at least you usually get some extra information or extra lore or just an extended look at the character quirks and their personalities. So even if you pick the wrong one and don't advance the plot to the next step, at least you get something out of it. But yeah, the gameplay will not be for everyone. It's worse than Ace Attorney in that regard, and we all know how illogical those can be at times. And it probably doesn't help that the interface has issues. You have too many vague descriptions of actions that don't always lead to what you'd expect, like having call/engage. How is that different to ask/listen? Why the slashes to begin with? Do you need the bathroom or something? Why can't it be made more clear? And then you click on look/examine, as though they're not just synonyms. you get a sub-menu including where with a question mark. Like, what's that supposed to mean? Well, it means you scour the environments for clues or getting descriptions. Why is it called where? If you click surroundings, its real meaning is to move to another location. Like, how about just the word move? I don't know if it was awkwardly translated or that's just how it is in Japanese. It's weird because the game's dialogue flows very well, maybe slightly Americanized, phrases that you know a Japanese person would never say because they have too much dignity, but I really like the script. How did they mess up the interface? Like, Monkey Island did a better job 35 years ago. I guess it doesn't matter too much because, again, you're clicking on an option and hoping for the best. The actions could have all been named after different kinds of cheese for all the difference it makes. But it's food for thought for Nintendo, you know? Of course, they're going to be listening to this specific video to take on the feedback and make the next game even better, right? Now, I know it sounds like a bunch of complaining, but you really need to know if this is going to be the game for you or not. There is a demo, I believe, so give it a shot, and if the random clicking really puts you off the excellent story, then maybe it's just not for you, and that's fine. Everyone has different tastes. What's not up for debate, however, is the amazing production value. Visually, this is one of the best looking and produced visual novels I've ever seen. Unsurprising, then, that it was developed by majors who generally go above and beyond most companies, but I don't believe even they have made their own games look this good before. Of course, the game is only like 10 hours, maybe a bit more, so yeah, it's shorter than average, so they can afford to spend the money, but I think it just shows the passion they have for the series and for Nintendo's money. There are so many backgrounds and locations and characters, they look great. Really nice attention to detail, especially in the facial animations. Like, you can get a really nuanced emotion that aren't overly exaggerated unless they want it to be, of course, you know, for comedic effect. The animation, I'll be honest, you know, it's a little ropey, not the smoothest, but I do appreciate there being animated sections, you know, character body movements, environmental things like cars or opening windows. It adds so much production to the game. It sets it so far above everything else that it may be difficult for people to go back to standard VNs. I feel like I'm being totally spoiled by the production value in this game. I also really like the audio. The voice acting is excellent, all in Japanese of course, but it's really well done. Plus it has incredible nostalgia-filled music, like noir synth of early Japanese adventure games. It captures the genre so well, even if it may sound like a little outdated compared to modern game music, but I prefer this. I would like to listen to this music more. It's like proper nostalgic. It has personality. Now, physically, this is available in a standard edition in both North America and Europe. I'm pleasantly surprised, considering they skipped out on the previous double pack remakes that they did like a couple of years ago. I'm still bitter that's digital only, but hey, let's celebrate that something so niche is getting a physical retail release. I do have concerns that the European version may be difficult to get a hold of. It seems the initial print was quite small, but if you want to purchase the North American version, please consider using the links down below in the description and the pinned comment. VGP have copies of the physical version, and if you purchase with those links, you also support me at the same time, and VGP are a really nice company with free worldwide shipping over 80 Canadian dollars, which is only about 60 American dollars, so yeah, thank you for your support. Now, it may be worth noting that in Japan, they did get a mini collector's edition, which has an art book, I believe those are soundtrack CDs, as well as an Emio paper bag in an evidence pouch, and I don't believe this is easily available nowadays, but if you do stumble across it, the Japanese version also plays in English, so yeah, that might be a nice collector's item. Overall, would I purchase this myself? Yes, I would. While it might be slightly archaic in some areas, mainly the interface, and the gameplay is basic in the sense it's mostly just randomly choosing the right option at the right time, that will certainly not be everyone's cup of tea. But I think it's got a great story with incredible production value, and my god do I wish all visual novels had this amount of production value and attention to detail. The story is nicely paced, like 10-12 hours of solid mystery. That's what I personally need. So if supporting Emio will give us more games like this in the future, I want to support it. Maybe the price, too high for some of you, a short story with minimal replay value, but hey, you're very rarely going to get the production like this anywhere outside of majors. It's one of the best produced VNs I've ever seen. Will you be picking it up, or have you already? If you want it physically, consider using the links below in the description and the pinned comment. That really helps me out, and I greatly appreciate your support. I hope you all have a fantastic day, guys, okay? Take care, really.